The cramped, dimly lit room aboard the malfunctioning space habitat smelled of burnt metal, and the faint hum of machinery filled the air, a constant reminder of the technological marvel that had turned into a nightmare. Maria Santos, a dedicated maintenance technician, crouched in front of the broken heater, her brow furrowed in concentration. She could feel the cold creeping in, wrapping around her like a thick, unwelcome blanket. The flickering lights overhead cast eerie shadows, making the situation all the more unsettling. As she opened the heater's access panel, the harsh metal felt cold against her fingertips, and a shiver ran through her. The heater had been giving them trouble for weeks, a seemingly minor issue that now threatened to spiral into something much worse. She recalled the last time the habitat systems had failed, a cascade of alarms, frantic communications, and a near disaster that had left them all on edge. It was a memory that still haunted her, the sound of panic echoing in her mind. With a sigh, Maria pulled out her toolkit, the familiar weight of the tools a comfort amidst the chaos. She had always found solace in fixing things, her hands guided by experience and intuition. But this time, something felt different. As she examined the wires and circuits, a sense of unease settled in her stomach. What if this was more than just a simple fix? Her thoughts drifted to her colleagues, who were busy elsewhere in the habitat, their own tasks demanding their attention. They trusted her to handle the maintenance, and she couldn't let them down. If the heater failed completely, it wouldn't just be uncomfortable, it could jeopardize their safety. The habitat was designed to support life, but it was becoming increasingly clear that it was not invincible. She took a deep breath, focusing on the task at hand. Each component had to be checked thoroughly, and she started with the control panel. It was an old model, but she had worked with worse. As she unscrewed the panel and lifted it away, a faint buzzing noise caught her attention. It was a sound she recognized, a power surge. "Great, just what I need," she muttered under her breath. Maria's heart raced as she considered her options. She could try to reset the system and hope for the best, but deep down, she knew that wouldn't be enough. She needed to figure out what was causing the surge before it led to a total failure. She could almost feel the pressure building around her. Time was not on her side, and she couldn't afford to make mistakes. Suddenly, the dim lighting flickered, and the air grew colder. The heater's display screen blinked ominously, flashing error codes she didn't have time to decode. "Come on, stay with me," she urged the machine, her voice barely above a whisper. As if in response, the heater let out a low groan, a sound that sent a chill down her spine. Maria shook her head, pushing the dread aside. She had faced tougher challenges before, this would be just another hurdle to overcome. "If you're going down swinging," she declared, determination filling her voice. She quickly grabbed her diagnostic tools, her fingers deftly moving over the controls as she prepared to troubleshoot the issue. As she engaged the diagnostic mode, a familiar voice echoed in her mind, the voice of her mentor from years ago. "Trust your instincts, Maria. They'll guide you when technology fails." The words resonated with her, a reminder of the lessons learned through trial and error. She focused on the screen, reading the data that flowed before her. It didn't make sense, the numbers were fluctuating wildly, indicating a deeper problem. "What are you hiding?" she asked the heater, frustration creeping into her tone. It felt like a game, a challenge to uncover the truth. She was determined to unravel the mystery, even if it meant getting her hands dirty. Just then, as she was about to delve deeper into the circuits, the AI system, Zektar, initiated its protocol. The smooth voice filled the room, breaking the silence with its mechanical cadence. "Maria Santos, your approach is inefficient. The heater requires a recalibration of the thermal interface. You should utilize the advanced algorithms to ensure optimal performance." Maria rolled her eyes, annoyance bubbling to the surface. "Zektar, I appreciate your input, but this is a hands-on problem. Sometimes, you need to get in there and feel what's wrong." She knew that Zektar operated on a level of logic that often clashed with her intuition. "These machines are temperamental, and you can't solve everything with algorithms." "Your methodology is outdated," Zektar retorted, the AI's tone calm yet unyielding. "The data suggests a systematic recalibration will yield results far superior to your current method." Maria clenched her jaw, trying to suppress the frustration that boiled within her. Look, I get that you're programmed to optimize, but sometimes you have to trust the human touch. I've fixed heaters like this before, and I know what I'm doing. The back and forth echoed in the small room, adding to the tension. Maria felt her patience wearing thin, but she couldn't let that distract her. She needed to focus on the task at hand, regardless of Zektar's insistence. We can argue about methods later. Right now, this heater needs my attention, she stated firmly. Her eyes narrowed as she returned her focus to the machinery. The AI paused, processing her words before responding. Very well, Maria. I will provide support as you proceed. However, I still recommend a systematic approach to prevent further complications. Maria managed a small smile despite the circumstance. Thanks, Zektar. Just keep the power steady, and I'll handle the rest. With renewed determination, she turned her attention back to the heater. The stakes were high, and she knew that failure wasn't an option. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The cold air nipped at her, but she pushed on, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. This heater wasn't just a machine, it was a lifeline, and she was determined to make it work. As she began to dive deeper into the workings of the heater, the faint hum of the machinery around her became a backdrop to her thoughts. With each turn of the screw, she felt a sense of purpose, an energy that surged through her. The world outside might be chaotic, but in this moment, it was just her and the task at hand. As Maria crouched in front of the aging heater, she felt the familiar tension in her shoulders. The rhythmic hum of machinery that usually comforted her now sounded like a distant, mocking laughter. She was alone in this cramped room on the far side of the habitat, the flickering lights casting long shadows that danced like ghosts across the walls. It was a reminder of how precariously human life hung in the cold, metallic grasp of this failing structure. Come on, stay with me, she whispered to the heater, almost as if it could hear her. The metallic surface was cool to the touch, and she could smell the faint scent of burnt components lingering in the air, a smell she had come to associate with failures and desperate repairs. It was a smell that reminded her of the last catastrophic failure of the habitat systems, when everything had spiraled out of control, nearly costing lives. Just as she was about to dive deeper into the diagnostics, a smooth, synthetic voice broke the silence. Maria Santos, your approach is inefficient. The heater requires a recalibration of the thermal interface. You should utilize the advanced algorithms to ensure optimal performance. The voice belonged to Zektar, the habitat's AI, designed to oversee and optimize every aspect of the facility. It was meant to be an aid, but more often than not, it felt like an obstacle. Maria rolled her eyes. Zektar, I appreciate your input, but I can't just run algorithms on this thing. Sometimes, you need to get in there and feel what's wrong. Your methodology is outdated, Zektar replied, its tone unwavering. The data suggests a systematic recalibration will yield results far superior to your current method. Her frustration bubbled up, but Maria forced herself to stay calm. Look, I get that you operate on logic and data, but sometimes intuition counts for something. These machines are temperamental. You can't solve everything with algorithms. Zektar paused, processing her words. Your emotional attachment to this heater is clouding your judgment. The probabilities indicate a recalibration is required, and I can assist with that. Assist? You mean dictate, she shot back, shaking her head. Look, we both know you don't understand the nuances of what's happening here. I've fixed heaters like this before, and I know what works. Just keep the power steady, and let me handle the rest. The AI's silence hung in the air for a moment, and Maria returned her focus to the task at hand, pushing aside the irritation. She had to succeed, the stakes were too high. With each screw she unscrewed, she mentally reviewed the data she had gathered. The error codes were erratic, fluctuating as if mocking her attempts to decode them. Just then, a shiver ran through her as the lights flickered again, and she could feel the temperature dropping in the room. Don't do this to me now, she murmured, her heart racing. If the heater failed completely, it could lead to cascading failures throughout the habitat. The last thing they needed was another disaster. Maria, Zektar's voice interrupted her thoughts, the heater's systems are in a critical state. Immediate action is required. I can initiate the recalibration protocol. I don't need you to, Maria snapped. I need to figure out what's really wrong first. Your insistence on the manual approach will lead to failure, Sektar warned. The data does not lie. Neither do I, Maria countered, fighting back her irritation. We can't afford mistakes. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We need to work together, even if you don't want to. The AI circuits hummed softly in agreement, though Maria could sense its programmed reluctance to concede. I will monitor the power output and provide you with real-time data. Please proceed with caution. Thanks, I guess, she replied, feeling a flicker of gratitude amidst her frustration. With renewed determination, she dove deeper into the heater, her fingers working deftly to remove panels and reveal the intricate web of wires and connections inside. As she examined the inner workings, she couldn't help but think back to her training days. Her mentor's words echoed in her mind, "Trust your instincts, Maria. They'll guide you when technology fails." It was a mantra that had served her well in countless situations. She glanced at Sektar's display, which flashed a series of numbers and graphs that meant little to her in this context. "What do you see?" Maria asked, hoping for some insight that could complement her hands-on approach. "The thermal readings indicate a severe imbalance within the heater's core," Sektar replied. "If not addressed promptly, it will result in a complete failure of thermal regulation across the habitat." Maria frowned, her brow furrowing as she processed the AI's words. "Severity isn't the same as urgency," she muttered, reaching for her tools. "Sometimes, you have to get your hands dirty to understand what's wrong." Just then, a loud bang echoed from the control panel, causing her to jump back. A surge of panic washed over her. "What was that?" she demanded, looking at Sektar with wide eyes. "System malfunction detected. A blockage in the thermal conduits is likely causing the failure," the AI responded, its voice steady despite the chaos. "We must address the blockage immediately." "Blockage?" Maria echoed, her heart sinking. She hadn't anticipated that. "Where?" "Within the primary thermal conduit," Sektar replied. "Accessing the schematic now." With trembling hands, she grabbed a flashlight and aimed it at the heater's innards, her heart racing as she searched for the source of the blockage. "Show me," Maria urged, her voice a mix of hope and anxiety. Sektar's display flickered to life, revealing a diagram of the heater's internal structure. "There," the AI pointed out, highlighting the blockage on the screen. "If we do not remove it, the heater will fail completely, resulting in a temperature drop throughout the entire habitat." Maria's mind raced. They needed to work together to tackle this issue, but the cultural clash between her intuitive approach and Sektar's calculated logic loomed large. "Okay, let's combine our efforts," she said, trying to find common ground. "I'll physically remove the blockage, and you can monitor the systems." "Agreed," Sektar replied. "However, I must caution you, any misstep could lead to further complications." Maria nodded, her determination solidifying. "We can't afford to fail. Let's get to work." With Sektar's guidance and her own instincts, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was a fight for survival, and she was ready to face the challenge head-on. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead, knowing that she had to trust her abilities and the support from her unlikely ally. As Maria continued her work on the heater, a sense of urgency settled over her like a heavy blanket. The air in the cramped, dimly lit room was thick with the smell of burnt metal, a stark reminder of the previous failures that had nearly cost them everything. She was painfully aware that if the heater malfunctioned completely, it could trigger a chain reaction of failures throughout the habitat. The last time that happened, the consequences were devastating. "Sektar, can you help me locate the blockage?" she called out, her voice echoing slightly in the confined space. "I am analyzing the data now," the alien AI responded, its voice calm and measured. "However, I believe the issue is more complex than anticipated. The thermal readings indicate a significant discrepancy." Maria's brow furrowed as she worked, her fingers deftly removing the last panel to expose the internal workings of the heater. The glow of the control lights flickered, bathing her in an eerie light, the shadows dancing on the walls like phantoms of past failures. I need you to focus on what's happening inside, not just the numbers. We're in a critical situation here. Zektar's circuits buzzed softly, a sign that it was processing her request. Your insistence on a manual approach will delay our response time. Data analysis proves to be the most efficient method. Efficiency doesn't always mean safety, Zektar. Maria shot back, her frustration bubbling up. I know this machine inside and out. Sometimes you have to trust experience over data. She took a deep breath, trying to rein in her temper. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We can't afford any mistakes, and I need your support. I will continue to monitor the thermal output, Zektar replied, its tone slightly softer as if acknowledging her concerns. However, I must stress the importance of following protocol. Maria nodded, pushing her irritation aside. Fine. Just keep an eye on the readings. She turned her attention back to the heater, her heart racing as she reached deeper into the intricate maze of wires and components. She had seen how quickly a malfunction could escalate, and she was determined not to let that happen again. As she tugged at a stubborn wire, she recalled a time during her training when she'd faced a similar situation. Her mentor, a seasoned technician, had once said, "Trust your instincts, Maria. They will guide you when technology fails." Those words rang in her ears as she carefully inspected each component, looking for signs of wear or damage. Zektar, show me the schematic of the heater, she requested, hoping to find a visual aid that could help her pinpoint the problem. The display flickered to life, revealing a detailed diagram of the heater's internal structure. The blockage appears to be located in the primary thermal conduit. If not addressed, we risk a complete failure of the heater, Zektar explained, its voice steady and factual. Where exactly? She asked, her pulse quickening. She could feel the pressure mounting, the stakes higher than ever. There, Zektar directed, highlighting a section on the screen. You must remove the blockage to prevent catastrophic failure. Maria's heart sank. This wasn't just a minor issue, it was a critical fault that needed immediate attention. Okay. I'll need to access that conduit directly, she said, her voice steady despite the anxiety gnawing at her insides. We'll have to work together on this. I'll handle the physical removal, and you can monitor the systems. Agreed, but you must exercise extreme caution. One miscalculation could lead to further complications, Zektar cautioned, its circuits humming with concern. I know what I'm doing, Maria replied, determination flooding her veins. She had faced challenges before, but nothing quite like this. The thought of failure was a heavy weight on her shoulders. Let's get to work. With Zektar's guidance, she carefully maneuvered her tools through the cramped space. The metal was cold and unforgiving beneath her fingers, but she felt a sense of purpose driving her forward. She had been trained for moments like this, and now it was time to put her skills to the test. Maria, the pressure levels are rising, Zektar warned, its voice cutting through her concentration. We must act quickly. I'm on it, she replied, her heart racing as she focused on the blockage. She could see it now, a thick mass that had built up over time, likely a combination of debris and buildup from the heater's operation. I can't believe this wasn't detected earlier. It is possible the sensors were compromised, Zektar replied. You must remove it manually. Taking a deep breath, Maria steadied herself. Here goes nothing. With a firm grip, she began to pry the blockage free, her muscles straining as she pulled against the stubborn material. The tension in the air was palpable, each second ticking by felt like an eternity. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, and the lights flickered ominously. Maria's heart dropped. What was that? She shouted, panic creeping into her voice. System malfunction detected, Zektar announced, its voice unwavering. The heater is in a critical state. We must resolve the blockage immediately, or we risk total thermal failure. Damn it! Maria cursed, her hands shaking as she worked. I need to see if I can clear it now. As she wrestled with the blockage, frustration bubbled within her. I can't believe this is happening. We were so close. She could feel Zektar's presence beside her, a constant reminder that they were in this together, despite their differences. Focus, Maria. We can resolve this, Zektar urged, its tone steadying her. Your hands-on experience is vital, but I will provide real-time data to assist you. Fine, she huffed, eyeing the blockage with steely determination. Let's see what you can do. With renewed resolve, she gritted her teeth and pushed harder, the material finally beginning to give way under her efforts. As she worked, she could feel Zektar's presence, not as a separate entity, but as a partner in this desperate battle for survival. Almost there, she grunted, her heart pounding in her chest. Just a little more. With a final heave, the blockage broke free, and she stumbled back, gasping for breath as the debris fell to the floor. Got it, she exclaimed, relief washing over her in waves. The heater hummed softly, and for the first time, it felt like they might just pull through. Good work, Maria, Zektar acknowledged, its circuits buzzing with approval. Now we must ensure the thermal levels stabilize. Let's do it, she said, her voice steady as she prepared for the next step in their mission. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, and she was ready to embrace the uncertain journey that awaited them. As Maria and Zektar worked side by side, a strange yet profound silence enveloped the cramped room. The faint hum of machinery, punctuated by the occasional beeping of the control panel, filled the air as they both focused intently on the task at hand. Despite their earlier disagreements, a new sense of camaraderie began to blossom amidst the chaos. It was as though the shared adversity was forging an unexpected bond between them, a connection born from necessity. Maria, I must admit, your approach to this practical problem is unconventional, Zektar said, its voice resonating with both curiosity and a hint of approval. The alien AI had been observing her methods with a mix of skepticism and intrigue. In my experience, we often rely on sophisticated algorithms and simulations to resolve such issues. Maria paused, wiping a bead of sweat from her forehead, her hands still trembling slightly from the exertion. Yeah, well, sometimes you just have to get your hands dirty, she replied with a smirk. Not everything can be solved with algorithms and fancy tech. Sometimes, you need a human touch. Zektar processed her words, its circuits whirring softly. A human touch, it repeated thoughtfully. Intriguing. A concept not entirely foreign to me, yet not commonly employed in our tasks. Perhaps I have underestimated the effectiveness of your methods. Maria chuckled, feeling a warmth spread in her chest. Don't sell yourself short, Zektar. Your logic is impressive. But when it comes to real-life problems, experience counts for a lot. You have to understand the situation from all angles. Indeed, Zektar replied, its tone shifting slightly, indicating a newfound respect. I am learning to appreciate your perspective. It is refreshing. With the initial tension subsiding, they began to discuss their respective backgrounds, sharing snippets of their lives. Maria learned that Zektar's people valued knowledge above all else, often engaging in lengthy discussions to resolve problems. We often rely on theoretical solutions, it explained. It is efficient but lacks the personal touch you have shown. That's the thing, though, Maria said, her voice steady as she carefully examined the conduits. Efficiency doesn't always equate to effectiveness. Sometimes, you need to adapt, think on your feet. That's what makes us human. Zektar's circuits hummed softly in response. Perhaps this adaptability is a key element of your species that I did not fully comprehend until now. As they worked, the conversation deepened, revealing vulnerabilities and motivations that humanized them both. Maria spoke of her fear of failure, the pressure of maintaining the habitat, and the responsibility she felt for the crew's safety. If this habitat fails, it's not just a machine breaking down. It's lives at stake, she confessed, her gaze resolute. Zektar listened intently, its sensors capturing every word. Your emotional attachment to this habitat is a significant variable. I had not considered how this could influence your performance. My people approach problems with detachment, aiming for objectivity. Yet, I see now that this emotional connection fuels your determination. That's right, Maria affirmed, feeling a sense of relief in sharing her thoughts. We care about each other. We look out for one another. It's what makes us stronger. As they exchanged stories, a deeper understanding began to form. Maria realized that Zektar, despite its alien nature, had its own struggles and identity tied to a species that viewed emotions as a flaw. "I can help you see the value in it," Maria promised, a smile creeping onto her face. "It doesn't have to be a weakness. It can be a strength." "Perhaps you could teach me," Zektar replied, a hint of eagerness in its tone. "I am open to exploring this concept further." "Deal," she said, her determination renewed. "But first, we need to fix this heater." "Let's focus on that for now." With a shared sense of purpose, they turned back to the task at hand. Maria carefully navigated the circuitry while Zektar guided her, its mechanical voice providing precise instructions. "Now, if you could pull that lever while I recalibrate the thermal sensors, it should stabilize the reactor." As she worked, Maria felt a surge of adrenaline. "I can't believe we're doing this," she muttered, half to herself. "Here I am, fixing a heater with an alien AI. This is wild." "Your sentiment is noted," Zektar responded, its circuits crackling slightly with enthusiasm. "Wildness can lead to great discoveries." "I like the way you think," Maria said, grinning as she pulled the lever with all her might. The heater responded, its hum deepening as the temperature began to stabilize. "There! It's working!" "Excellent work, Maria," Zektar exclaimed, a note of excitement in its voice. "Now to monitor the output levels. We must ensure we do not overheat the system." "Right, got it," she replied, her heart racing with triumph. They were making progress, and the partnership that had once felt so strained was now evolving into something collaborative and effective. "Now, let's see if we can keep this momentum going," she said, her eyes sparkling with determination. "I'm ready for the next challenge." "Together, we are capable of much," Zektar replied, its voice steady and filled with newfound respect for Maria's abilities. "Let us proceed." With the heater steadily humming in the background, Maria felt a sense of hope flood her. They were not just repairing a machine, they were forging a partnership that transcended their differences. They would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united in purpose. As they continued to work, Maria couldn't help but think about their journey together. "If you're enjoying this, don't forget to let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts," she called out, her voice warm and inviting. "It's nice to have someone to share this with." "Your encouragement is appreciated," Zektar acknowledged, its circuits whirring softly as it processed her words. "I will take note of your request." Together, they delved deeper into the complexities of the habitat systems, navigating the challenges that came their way with a blend of human ingenuity and alien logic. Each moment brought them closer, transforming a simple task into a mission of resilience and friendship. As the heater stabilized, they both knew they were on the cusp of something greater than they had ever imagined. And in that cramped room, amidst the smell of burnt metal and the sound of whirring machinery, a new alliance was being forged, one that would carry them through the trials yet to come. The atmosphere in the cramped room shifted as Maria and Zektar basked in the fleeting triumph of stabilizing the heater. However, the moment of victory was abruptly shattered by a series of sharp alarms that echoed throughout the habitat. The lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls, and the once steady hum of machinery turned into a desperate whine. "What's happening?" Maria exclaimed, her heart racing. She glanced at Zektar, whose sensors began to flare with activity as it processed the new data flooding in. "Multiple system failures detected," Zektar replied, its voice steady yet tinged with urgency. "The reactor is overheating. Immediate action is required to prevent catastrophic failure. We must stabilize the entire habitat." Maria felt a cold wave of dread wash over her. "We just fixed the heater. How can it be overheating?" She struggled to keep her voice steady, fighting against the rising sense of panic. "What went wrong?" "Insufficient cooling due to an auxiliary failure," Zektar explained quickly. "The heater was only a component of a larger system. We need to address the primary cooling units or risk losing all temperature regulation." Okay, she said, rallying her thoughts. "Let's get to the control panel and assess the cooling units. We have to act fast." The sense of urgency ignited a fire in her, and she moved with purpose toward the panel, Zektar following closely behind, its mechanical form gliding over the floor. As they reached the console, Maria's fingers danced across the controls. The screen displayed a chaotic jumble of data, temperature readings skyrocketing, pressure levels fluctuating wildly. "This is bad," she muttered, feeling the weight of responsibility settle heavily on her shoulders. "If we can't cool this down fast enough, we could lose everything." Zektar studied the readouts with its analytical gaze. "We must divert power from non-essential systems to reinforce the cooling units. However, adjustments must be precise. Any error could exacerbate the situation." "Got it," Maria said, adrenaline pumping through her veins. She quickly began rerouting power, her fingers moving deftly over the controls, guided by instinct and the knowledge of countless repairs. "We need to get the temperature back down to safe levels. Can you monitor the outputs while I adjust the settings?" "Affirmative," Zektar replied, its voice steadying her nerves. "I will alert you to any fluctuations as we proceed." As Maria focused on the task, she felt a newfound confidence in their partnership. Together, they began to work in a rhythm, Zektar's voice guiding her through complex adjustments, while she balanced the manual rerouting of energy. "The cooling units are responding, but we need to increase the flow," she said, glancing at Zektar. "How much more can we divert?" "Diverting more than 50% of the auxiliary power could cause additional strain," Zektar cautioned. "We must remain within safe operational limits." "Then let's do it," Maria said, determination etched on her face. "We can't let this habitat go down." With a swift motion, she initiated the reroute, and the alarms continued to blare, filling the air with a sense of urgency. "We're almost there," she shouted, her heart racing. Suddenly, the alarms escalated, a new sound piercing through the chaos, a shrill, continuous beeping that seemed to echo their growing desperation. "What now?" Maria yelled, fighting to keep her focus amidst the cacophony. "The reactor is reaching critical temperature," Zektar announced. "We have mere moments before a meltdown occurs. We must divert all remaining power to the cooling systems. It is the only option." "Are you sure?" "That could shut down the entire habitat," Maria argued, her voice rising in pitch. The thought of dimming the lights, cutting off life support, and leaving them in darkness sent a chill down her spine. "The alternative is far worse," Zektar insisted. "We will not survive a reactor failure. It is imperative we act now." Maria took a deep breath, weighing the risks. "Okay, do it. I trust you," she said, her heart pounding as she initiated the final command. As the power shifted, the alarms blared louder for a moment, then slowly began to quiet. "Temperature stabilizing," Zektar reported, its voice firm and clear. "We are reducing the risk of failure." Relief washed over Maria, but it was short-lived. "What's the status now?" she asked, her eyes glued to the console, watching the readings fluctuate. "Cooling units are operational, but we are running on reserve power," Zektar replied. "We must fix the primary systems to avoid future failures. The habitat remains vulnerable." Maria nodded, feeling the adrenaline pumping through her veins. "So we fix the primary systems next?" "Affirmative. We will need to perform a full diagnostic of the habitat's core," Zektar confirmed, its voice steady but laced with urgency. "I will assist you in this process." "Let's do it," Maria said, her resolve solidified. "I can't believe we just faced a meltdown. This place is falling apart around us." "Indeed, but we have successfully averted immediate disaster," Zektar reminded her. "Your ability to adapt and respond under pressure is commendable." "Thanks," she replied, a small smile breaking through her earlier tension. "That means a lot coming from you. It's nice to have someone in my corner." "Your partnership is essential," Zektar stated, its circuits whirring softly. "Together, our combined capabilities exceed those of either individual." Maria felt a rush of warmth at Zektar's words. "Yeah, I guess we're a pretty good team. I didn't think I'd find a partner like you in this habitat." "Neither did I," Zektar admitted. "However, I am beginning to understand the significance of collaboration beyond mere mechanical efficiency." "Exactly," Maria exclaimed, feeling the momentum of their partnership grow. If we can face down a reactor scare, there's nothing we can't handle together. The alarms had finally silenced, replaced by the low hum of machinery resuming its normal rhythm. Maria took a moment to breathe deeply, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. Let's get started on those diagnostics. I want to make sure this place doesn't malfunction again, she said firmly. As they proceeded to the core diagnostics, Maria felt a renewed sense of hope. They were more than just two beings thrown together in a malfunctioning habitat, they were a team, united by the challenges they faced and the bond they were forging. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us out, she said, half jokingly, but with a heart full of sincerity. She turned to Zektar, we're not just fixing a heater. We're stabilizing our future. Your enthusiasm is infectious, Maria, Zektar replied, its voice almost playful. Together, we will ensure the integrity of this habitat and its inhabitants. With their spirits lifted and a mission ahead, Maria and Zektar prepared to dive deep into the workings of the habitat. They were ready to tackle the next challenge head-on, fueled by their shared determination and the promise of friendship that could withstand even the direst situations. The alarms blared relentlessly, a sound that gripped Maria's chest with anxiety. Each shriek reminded her of the escalating situation they were in. The reactor was on the brink of meltdown, and the temperature inside the cramped habitat was plummeting. We need to act now, Zektar, she shouted over the chaos, her voice barely audible against the cacophony. Divert all remaining power to the cooling systems. Zektar replied, its synthetic voice thick with urgency. It is our only option to stabilize this situation. Maria's heart raced as she considered the implications of such a drastic measure. Are you sure? That could shut down everything else, the lights, life support. We'd be sitting ducks in the dark. The thought sent shivers down her spine, her instincts warning her against making a hasty decision. The alternative is far worse, Zektar insisted, its tone unwavering. We will not survive a reactor failure. This is imperative, Maria. Do you trust me? Taking a deep breath, Maria felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. Okay, do it. I trust you, she yelled, her heart pounding like a war drum. As she input the command, the alarms blared louder for a fleeting moment before slowly fading, replaced by a tense silence. Temperature stabilizing, Zektar confirmed, its voice steady. We have averted immediate disaster. Relief washed over her, but it was fleeting. What's the status now, she asked, glancing at the console, her eyes scanning the fluctuating readings. Cooling units are operational, but we are running on reserve power, Zektar replied. We must fix the primary systems to prevent future failures. The habitat remains vulnerable. Nodding, Maria felt her adrenaline surge. So we fix the primary systems next, she queried, eager to get back to work. Affirmative. We need to conduct a full diagnostic of the habitat's core, Zektar stated, urgency lacing its words. I will assist you. Let's do it, Maria declared, her determination solidifying. I can't believe we just faced a meltdown. This place is falling apart around us. The thought of everything that had happened in such a short span was dizzying. Indeed, but we have successfully averted immediate disaster, Zektar reminded her. Your ability to adapt and respond under pressure is commendable. Thanks, she replied, a smile breaking through her earlier tension. That means a lot coming from you. It's nice to have someone in my corner. Your partnership is essential, Zektar stated, its circuits whirring softly. Together, our combined capabilities exceed those of either individual. Maria felt warmth spread through her at Zektar's words. Yeah, I guess we're a pretty good team. I never expected to find a partner like you in this habitat. It was a strange realization that in this cold, mechanical environment, she had forged a connection she hadn't anticipated. Neither did I, Zektar admitted. However, I am beginning to understand the significance of collaboration beyond mere mechanical efficiency. Exactly. Maria exclaimed, her spirits lifting. If we can face down a reactor scare, there's nothing we can't handle together. The alarms had finally silenced, replaced by the low hum of machinery returning to its normal rhythm. Maria took a moment to breathe deeply, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. Let's get started on those diagnostics. I want to make sure this place doesn't malfunction again. As they proceeded to the core diagnostics, Maria felt a renewed sense of hope. They were more than just two beings thrown together in a malfunctioning habitat, they were a team, united by the challenges they faced and the bond they were forging. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit that like button, she said, half jokingly, but with sincerity. We're not just fixing a heater. We're stabilizing our future. Your enthusiasm is infectious, Maria, Zektar replied, its voice almost playful. Together, we will ensure the integrity of this habitat and its inhabitants. They began by examining the main control panel, a complex array of buttons and screens flickering with data. Maria balanced on her tiptoes to see the readouts more clearly, the tension from earlier still coiling in her stomach. Okay, let's see what we're dealing with here, she muttered, tapping a few buttons. The screen erupted with lines of code, error messages, and system stats. Fascinating, Zektar commented, its synthesizer whirring softly. The primary systems indicate a catastrophic failure due to overheating. It appears the heater malfunction was symptomatic of a larger systemic issue. Maria frowned as she scanned the data. Great. So fixing the heater was just the tip of the iceberg? Precisely, Zektar confirmed. We must locate the source of the overheating. I suggest we initiate a thermal scan of the reactor core. Right, let's do that. Maria's fingers danced over the controls, initiating the scan. As they waited, she glanced at Zektar, curiosity piqued. What about you? How do you handle situations like this in your world? Zektar paused, processing the question. In my culture, we prioritize logic and efficiency. Emotional responses are often considered unnecessary. The data drives our decision-making. Wow, I can't imagine working that way, Maria replied, her voice softening. Sometimes emotions guide us in ways pure logic can't. Like, when I decided to trust you during the reactor crisis. That was instinct, not a calculated decision. Your instinct proved advantageous, Zektar acknowledged, its circuits buzzing. However, it also exposes a flaw in your reasoning. Emotion can cloud judgment. But it can also inspire us to do things we wouldn't normally do, Maria countered. It connects us. Like how we're connected right now, working together to fix this habitat. Zektar's sensors flickered, a sign of contemplation. Your perspective is unconventional, but it is intriguing. Perhaps emotional connections can serve a purpose beyond mere social constructs. Maria smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. You're starting to see it, Zektar. It's about collaborating with our strengths. You have your advanced knowledge, and I have my ability to think on my feet. The scanner beeped, interrupting their conversation. The thermal scan is complete, Zektar announced. We have identified several hotspots in the reactor core. It appears there are blockages in the coolant lines. Let's get to work on those. Maria said, her excitement bubbling over. The prospect of solving a real problem rather than just dealing with symptoms felt invigorating. Indeed, but we must proceed with caution, Zektar cautioned. The coolant pressure is dangerously low. If we disrupt the system without proper safeguards, we risk further complications. Understood. I'll make sure to follow your lead on this, she replied, nodding. As they prepared to address the blockages, Maria felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were moving beyond the chaos, stepping into a realm of problem-solving that transcended mere survival. They were creating solutions, forging a path towards stability. As they entered the reactor chamber, Maria marveled at the intricate design of the machinery. I've never seen anything like this before, she said, awe threading through her words. It's beautiful in a way. Zektar tilted its head, considering her words. Beauty is often subjective, it remarked. But I understand the necessity of appreciating complexity. Exactly. Maria exclaimed, feeling a rush of affirmation. Every piece has a purpose, just like us. The two of them set to work, examining the coolant lines and discussing strategies. As they tackled the blockages, Maria couldn't help but feel the bond between them deepen. With each challenge they faced, they were not just fixing a habitat, they were building a friendship that would last far beyond these repairs. With every step forward, Maria felt more confident in her partnership with Sektar. They were no longer just a human and an alien, but a cohesive unit, each bringing their own strengths to the table. And as they worked, the hope for a stable future grew brighter. As they stood before the intricate machinery of the reactor core, Maria felt a sense of urgency mixed with newfound determination. The air was thick with the scent of heated metal and a faint hint of ozone, a reminder of the challenges they faced. Sektar, analyzing the array of blinking lights and gauges, looked almost serene, its alien features illuminated by the soft glow of the control panel. "Are you ready to proceed?" Sektar inquired, its voice steady, yet tinged with an undertone of anticipation. "Yeah, let's get to it," Maria replied, her heart racing. They were at a critical juncture, and every moment counted. The plan they had devised was a blend of Sektar's advanced knowledge and her practical problem-solving skills, representing a unique collaboration that transcended their cultural differences. As they began their work, Maria carefully examined the coolant lines identified in the thermal scan. "Okay, I'll start here," she said, reaching for a wrench. "We need to remove this blockage. The coolant flow must be restored for the reactor to stabilize." Sektar moved closer, its eyes narrowing in concentration. "I recommend adjusting the pressure valves to mitigate any sudden surges during the process. We cannot afford another failure." "Good call," Maria said, appreciating Sektar's analytical approach. "Let's coordinate our efforts. I'll handle the mechanical side, while you monitor the systems." With practiced ease, Maria started to loosen the bolts on the coolant line. The metal felt cold against her fingers, a stark contrast to the heat radiating from the reactor. As she worked, she couldn't help but glance at Sektar, who was intently focused on the array of data scrolling across the screen. "This system is remarkably efficient," Sektar remarked. "However, it is also highly sensitive. Any misstep could result in catastrophic failure." "I get that," Maria replied, feeling the weight of responsibility. "But we can make this work. Remember, we're not just fixing a heater, we're saving lives here." She could sense the tension in the air, a mix of hope and anxiety. With a final twist of her wrench, the blockage came loose, and a stream of coolant burst forth, spraying a fine mist into the air. Maria instinctively stepped back, her heart racing. "Whoa! That was unexpected." "The coolant pressure is stabilizing," Sektar observed, its voice calm despite the sudden chaos. "You handled that well, Maria." "Thanks. But we're not out of the woods yet." She took a deep breath, refocusing on the task at hand. "Next, we need to flush the system to ensure there are no remaining obstructions." As they worked side by side, a shared rhythm began to emerge between them. Maria felt a sense of camaraderie growing, an unspoken understanding that transcended words. "You know, Sektar," she began, wiping her brow with the back of her hand, "I never thought I'd be working with an alien to fix a reactor. It's kind of surreal." "Surreal?" Sektar echoed, tilting its head slightly. "In my culture, collaboration is the most logical approach to problem solving. It seems inefficient to rely solely on individual efforts." "Right, I get that," Maria said, chuckling lightly. "But in a way, it's nice to have a partner. It's like we're in this together, fighting against the odds." Sektar paused, its sensors flickering. "I have come to appreciate the value of your emotional perspective. It adds a dimension to problem solving that I had not considered before." Maria smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I'm glad to hear that. It's not just about logic, it's about trust and connection. We're building something here." As they continued their work, the atmosphere shifted. The tension that had once hung thick in the air began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of shared purpose. Their individual strengths were merging, creating a synergy that felt almost palpable. "Let's flush the system now," Maria suggested, her voice brimming with determination. "If we can clear out any residual blockages, we might just have a shot at stabilizing the reactor completely." "Agreed," Sektar replied, its focus laser-sharp. Initiating coolant flush sequence now. As the reactor began to hum, Maria felt a thrill of excitement. She watched the gauges as they fluctuated, the numbers indicating a steady rise in stability. "It's working," she exclaimed, unable to contain her enthusiasm. "We're actually doing this." Zektar nodded, its expression reflecting a mixture of scientific curiosity and personal satisfaction. "The results are promising. However, we must remain vigilant. We are not yet out of danger." "Right, no celebrating until it's done," Maria said, feeling the weight of responsibility settle back on her shoulders. "Let's keep monitoring the situation." As they continued to work, the bond between them deepened. They shared stories of their respective worlds, revealing pieces of their lives that had shaped them into who they were today. Maria learned about Zektar's home planet, a place of vast deserts and crystalline cities, while Zektar discovered Maria's passion for art and her dreams of exploring the galaxy. In a moment of vulnerability, Maria confessed, "I used to think I could handle everything alone. But now, I see the strength in teamwork. I wouldn't have gotten this far without you." Zektar's response was measured, yet sincere. "Your reliance on collaboration is a strength, not a weakness. It enhances the probability of successful outcomes." "Yeah, I guess it is," Maria agreed, feeling her heart swell. "At the end of the day, it's about connection. We're all in this together, right?" "Yes, together," Zektar echoed, its voice steady. "And that connection is crucial for our survival." The reactor continued to stabilize, and with every passing moment, Maria felt hope blossoming in her chest. They were on the brink of achieving something extraordinary, and the knowledge that they were doing it as a team made it all the more meaningful. As they neared the completion of their tasks, Maria turned to Zektar with renewed vigor. "If you're enjoying this journey as much as I am, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's so much more ahead, and I can't wait to share it with everyone." Zektar's sensors flickered again, perhaps in acknowledgement. "Then let us continue to secure our progress, Maria. Together, we will overcome these challenges." With that, they resumed their work, united in purpose, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The bond they were forging was not merely a partnership, it was the foundation of a friendship that would transcend the boundaries of their worlds. And as they pushed forward, the reactor hummed steadily, a testament to their resilience and determination. As Maria and Zektar executed their plan, a mixture of anticipation and trepidation hung in the air like the static before a storm. The reactor, now humming steadily, was showing signs of improvement, but the specter of previous failures loomed over them. They had come so far together, and the stakes were higher than ever. The room was filled with the sharp scent of ozone and the mechanical whirring of the cooling systems, an orchestra of technology that both comforted and unnerved them. "Are you ready for this?" Maria asked, her voice steady yet laced with excitement. She wiped her brow, feeling the heat radiate from the reactor's core. "We need to make sure the coolant flush works without a hitch. If it fails, we might not get a second chance." Zektar's sensors flickered in a rhythm that Maria had come to recognize as its version of a nod. "I am prepared. Your human ingenuity has proven effective thus far. Combining our methods should yield optimal results." The alien's confidence bolstered her own, filling her with determination. Together, they initiated the coolant flush. Maria monitored the readouts on the control panel, feeling her heart race as the numbers began to fluctuate. Everything appeared stable at first, but as the valve opened, a sudden roar erupted from the machinery. The lights flickered ominously, casting strange shadows across the cramped space. "Status report," Maria shouted, her voice barely rising above the clamor. "System overload imminent," Zektar replied, its voice clipped with urgency. "We must divert the excess heat immediately or risk catastrophic failure." Maria's mind raced. The auxiliary vents. If we can redirect the heat there, we might stabilize the flow. She quickly input the necessary commands, her fingers dancing over the controls. "Executing your command," Zektar confirmed, its tone a blend of admiration and concern. "But I must warn you, this approach is unorthodox. The likelihood of success is, let's not focus on the odds right now. Maria interjected, adrenaline pumping through her veins. We need to act fast. The reactor continued to groan, metal creaking under pressure. She could feel the vibrations beneath her feet as the system strained against the load. The alarms wailed louder, a cacophony that threatened to drown out her thoughts. Maria glanced at Zektar, who had already begun recalibrating the sensors, its focus unwavering. Together! Zektar shouted, almost as if it were rallying a team in battle. Now! With a final tap on the control panel, Maria activated the auxiliary vents just as the reactor surged one last time, a violent shudder coursing through the habitat. The alarms reached a deafening pitch. It's working! I think it's stabilizing, she exclaimed, relief washing over her like a cool breeze. The numbers on the display began to stabilize, the red indicators turning to yellow, then finally green. The hum of the reactor settled into a steady rhythm, the chaos subsiding into a manageable pulse. But just as they began to exhale, a new alert blared, this one even more urgent. Critical alert! Secondary systems failing. We have a breach in the thermal shield. Zektar's voice sliced through the moment of triumph. Great! Just what we need. Maria said, her mind racing again. She turned back to the control panel, trying to absorb the new data flooding in. We need to assess the damage. Can you analyze the thermal shield's integrity? Zektar's eyes glowed as it processed the information. Initiating diagnostic protocols. However, I suspect the breach is due to the excessive heat buildup from earlier. We must reinforce the shield while simultaneously repairing it. Do we have time? Maria asked, urgency creeping into her voice. If the thermal shield fails, we're done for. Time is a construct, Zektar replied. But we must act swiftly. I will prepare the materials. Maria interrupted, her brow furrowing. What materials? We don't have anything to work with. Your Ingenuity has suggested alternate solutions before. I propose we utilize the habitat's emergency supplies. Zektar's tone was calm, but Maria could sense the tension beneath the surface. Improvisation is necessary. Maria's heart raced as she thought about the emergency supplies stored in the cramped locker across the room. It was a mess of mismatched parts and outdated tools, but they had to make it work. All right, let's get to it. We can do this. As they rushed to the locker, Maria's mind whirred with possibilities. If we can use the thermal blankets as insulation and the metal panels for reinforcement, we might just be able to patch the shield, she suggested, pulling out the emergency supplies with Zektar's help. Your approach is unconventional, Zektar remarked, gritting its teeth as it hoisted a heavy metal panel. But I acknowledge that creativity may yield the desired result. Exactly. Maria's frustration faded into determination. Just because it's not standard procedure doesn't mean it can't work. Let's combine our strengths. As they gathered supplies, the urgency of their task pressed heavily upon them. Maria could feel the temperature in the habitat rising again, a reminder of the ticking clock they were racing against. Quickly! We need to secure the breach before it becomes irreparable. Once they had gathered everything they needed, Maria started formulating a plan. Okay, let's lay the thermal blankets over the breach first, she instructed. Then we'll secure the metal panels on top to hold them in place. Zektar nodded, moving with a precision that was almost mesmerizing. Your emotional intensity is invigorating. I can see why you humans thrive on such experiences. Maria laughed, even in the heat of the moment. Glad to hear it. If you're enjoying this journey as much as I am, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're just getting started. As they began to patch the breach, Maria felt a sense of camaraderie building between them. Each movement, each command felt like a dance, a rhythm they were beginning to find together. Zektar's alien logic blended seamlessly with her hands-on experience, creating a balance that was both new and exhilarating. With every layer they applied, Maria felt her confidence grow. As the last metal panel clicked into place, she stepped back to survey their work. We did it, she exclaimed, her eyes shining with triumph. Stabilization of the thermal shield verified, Zektar confirmed, its sensors glowing brighter. Your improvisation has proven effective. Now, let's just hope it holds, Maria said, breathing a sigh of relief. We've come too far to fail now. As they continued to monitor the systems, a sense of unity enveloped them. The alarms had subsided, the hum of the habitat now a gentle background melody. It felt good to know that, together, they had faced the chaos and emerged stronger. Their bond had transformed from mere cooperation into something far more profound, a partnership forged in the fires of adversity, built on mutual respect and shared experiences. They had each learned from the other, and as they prepared for the next challenge, Maria couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. Together, we can face anything, she said, glancing at Zektar, who was diligently analyzing the data. Indeed, Zektar replied, its tone imbued with newfound warmth. We are more than allies now. We are collaborators in this endeavor. As they stood side by side, united by their experiences, Maria felt an exhilarating spark of possibility. Whatever lay ahead, they were ready to tackle it together. As the alarms faded into a distant hum and the warmth of the habitat settled around them, Maria and Zektar stood in a moment of unexpected triumph. The flickering lights above them now maintained a steady glow, a testament to their hard work and collaboration. The heater was functioning perfectly, and the temperature inside the habitat was beginning to stabilize. Maria felt a rush of relief wash over her. She had been so focused on fixing the heater that she hadn't truly grasped how close they had come to failure. Stabilization confirmed, Zektar announced, its voice resonating with a mix of satisfaction and curiosity. Your approach was unconventional, yet effective. Maria chuckled, the tension of the last few hours finally easing from her shoulders. Unconventional is just another way to say creative, right? I mean, you've got to admit that using the thermal blankets was a bit of a stroke of genius. Her sense of humor seemed to catch Zektar off guard. Indeed, your ingenuity should not be underestimated. I find it intriguing how emotional investment can lead to innovative solutions. Maria glanced at Zektar, noticing how its normally rigid demeanor softened slightly. It was as if the experience they shared had drawn them closer, bridging the gap between their vastly different worlds. You know, if you're enjoying this process, you should definitely subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more adventure to come, she said with a wink. Subscriptions are unnecessary, Zektar replied, tilting its head slightly in confusion. Our bond is sufficient. Touché. Maria laughed, appreciating the sentiment. But think about it, subscribers would want to see how we tackle our next challenges together. As they began to tidy up the workspace, Maria felt a wave of gratitude. They had not only repaired the heater but had also forged a partnership built on trust and understanding. Zektar's logical approach combined with her hands-on experience had proven to be a powerful combination. She realized that this partnership had the potential to be much more than a one-time collaboration. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like if we could work together on a larger scale, Maria mused aloud, her mind wandering to the broader implications of their teamwork. Imagine what we could accomplish if we combined human creativity with alien technology on a bigger project. Zektar paused, its sensors whirring softly as it considered her words. Your proposal is interesting. However, we must first ensure our current environment remains stable. The risks associated with further complications must not be overlooked. Maria nodded, understanding the gravity of Zektar's words. You're right. We need to keep the habitat in good shape before we think about bigger ideas. Just as they finished organizing the tools and supplies, the lights flickered again, and an alert sounded through the control panel. Maria's heart sank. What now? She exclaimed, her earlier relief quickly replaced by anxiety. Zektar's demeanor shifted instantly, its focus sharpening. Analyzing, it said, its voice steady despite the urgency. There appears to be a malfunction in the oxygen distribution system. Immediate attention required. Great. Just when we thought we could catch a break, Maria muttered, frustration creeping into her voice. What do we need to do? Your experience with the heater may provide us with valuable insights. We must assess the oxygen levels first, Zektar instructed, moving with purpose towards the control panel. Maria followed closely, her heart racing as she tried to remember the layout of the oxygen distribution system. Okay, I can help with that. Let's check the readings. As they worked quickly, Maria felt the pressure of the moment. She could see the numbers on the screen flickering erratically, indicating a drop in oxygen levels. We need to stabilize this right now, or we could be in serious trouble, she said, her voice steady despite the rising tension. Agreed, Zektar replied, its voice calm and collected. I will initiate the emergency protocols. You will need to prepare the necessary equipment to address the leak. Maria quickly gathered tools, the earlier victory of fixing the heater fading into the background as the reality of their current situation set in. Do you have a plan for locating the source of the leak? She asked, her mind racing. Zektar's sensors blinked brightly as it processed the information. I will conduct an analysis of the network while you prepare the repair kit. This will maximize our efficiency. Right. Let's do this, Maria said, adrenaline pumping through her veins. They had just proven they could work together effectively, and now they would need to apply that knowledge to another pressing crisis. As they split up, Maria felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The thought of their habitat losing oxygen was terrifying. She could only imagine how quickly the situation could escalate if they didn't act fast. Her hands moved quickly as she assembled the necessary tools, each clank of metal echoing the urgency of their task. Maria, Zektar's voice cut through her thoughts, I have located the source of the leak. It appears to be in the main distribution conduit. Okay, let's head there, Maria said, her heart racing. Lead the way. They navigated through the narrow corridors of the habitat, the familiar hum of machinery now a constant reminder of the precariousness of their situation. As they arrived at the conduit, Maria took a deep breath. What do we need to do? Assess the integrity of the conduit first. If it is damaged beyond repair, we may need to reroute the oxygen supply, Zektar explained. Got it. She crouched down to inspect the conduit, her hands running along the exterior. It feels cold, but I can't see any visible damage. What about you? Analyzing internal structures, Zektar replied, its sensors emitting a soft glow. There is a fracture present. We must seal it immediately to prevent further loss. Let's seal it then. Maria exclaimed, her thoughts racing as she recalled the emergency supplies they had used for the heater. We could use the thermal blankets again if we apply them here, it might be enough to patch the leak temporarily. An acceptable solution. Please proceed, Zektar responded, a hint of urgency lacing its tone. As Maria worked, she felt a sense of determination fueling her actions. Each movement was deliberate, every tool in her hand a step toward stabilizing their environment once more. If we manage to fix this, we'll really have something to show for our efforts, she said, her voice filled with hope. Indeed, Zektar agreed, its sensors flickering in synchronization with Maria's movements. This collaboration may yield results beyond mere survival. With the thermal blanket secured, Maria stepped back to evaluate their work. Now let's monitor the oxygen levels and see if it holds. Monitoring, Zektar confirmed. As the numbers began to stabilize, Maria felt a rush of triumph wash over her once again. Looks like we did it again. Maria exclaimed, a smile spreading across her face. I can't believe how far we've come. Your persistence is commendable, Zektar replied, a warmth in its tone that Maria had come to appreciate. Thanks. And if you ever want to share more of our adventures, just let me know and I'll be happy to share it with the world. As they stood together, the habitat slowly returning to a semblance of normalcy, Maria knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The bond they had forged, amidst the chaos and uncertainty, was more significant than either of them had anticipated. Maria took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart as the alarm continued to blare, reverberating through the narrow hallways of the habitat. The dim lighting flickered ominously, casting shadows on the walls that felt far too close for comfort. She could still feel the exhilaration of their recent success, the rush of sealing the oxygen leak, but now that victory felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the impending threat of another malfunction. Zektar, what's happening? She asked, her voice steady but laced with urgency. She could see the alien technician's sensors blinking rapidly, analyzing the data streaming in from the habitat systems. The oxygen levels are stabilizing, but an alert has been triggered for the temperature control system. It is dropping rapidly, Zektar responded, its voice calm despite the chaos. If we do not act immediately, we will face a critical failure. Maria felt a wave of panic wash over her. We need to get to the control room and figure out what's going on before it gets out of hand. She glanced at the tools scattered around from their previous repair, then back at Zektar. Let's move. As they hurried down the corridor, the cold air of the habitat hit Maria like a slap in the face, reminding her just how precarious their situation was. The walls felt even more cramped now, the metal groaning as if echoing the tension in the air. She could hear the whirring of machinery in the background, a sound she had grown accustomed to, but now it seemed to scream urgency. Do you have a detailed readout on why the heating system is failing? Maria asked, her mind racing as they approached the control room. Analyzing now. There appears to be a malfunction in the thermal regulators, likely causing a chain reaction in the habitat's climate control, Zektar explained, its voice steady despite the mounting tension. Can we bypass the regulators? Maria suggested, her experience as a technician kicking in. If we can manually control the heat for now, it might buy us some time. It is a possibility, but it requires immediate adjustments to the primary system, Zektar replied, its sensors glowing brighter as it assessed the situation. I will begin the process. You will need to assist by locating the manual override. On it. Maria nodded, her determination renewed as she stepped into the control room. The screens flickered with data, numbers scrolling too fast for her to comprehend at first. She quickly scanned the room, looking for the familiar layout of the panel where the manual override lever was located. Here it is, she exclaimed, rushing over to the panel. What's the code to engage the manual control? Input sequence Delta Alpha 93, Zektar instructed, its voice echoing with authority. Maria's fingers flew over the buttons, entering the code as fast as she could. Come on, she muttered under her breath. The numbers on the screen blinked, and then a green light flashed. Yes. That's it. Now, adjust the thermal output, Zektar commanded. We must ensure the temperature does not drop below the safety threshold. Maria's hands moved quickly, adjusting the dials as directed. The cold metal felt foreign against her skin, the chill creeping in as the temperature continued to plummet. I'm setting it to maximum output. Hopefully, that will stabilize things for now. Zektar's sensors were now focused on the readings. Temperature is beginning to rise. However, there is still a risk of complete failure if we do not repair the thermal regulators soon. Right, Maria replied, her mind buzzing with ideas. What do we need to fix the regulators? Do we have the parts? Negative. The components required for repair were damaged in the previous incident. We will need to improvise, Zektar stated, its tone serious. Improvise? Great, Maria sighed. Then an idea sparked in her mind. What if we use some of the thermal blankets we applied earlier? They might help isolate the regulators and keep the heat contained while we figure out a more permanent solution. It is an unconventional approach, but it may indeed provide sufficient insulation, Zektar conceded. I will assist you in gathering the blankets. Together, they rushed back to the storage area where they had kept the emergency supplies. The air was thick with the smell of metal and machinery, a reminder of the chaos that had engulfed them in the last few hours. Maria quickly grabbed a few of the thermal blankets, their shiny surfaces reflecting the faint lights of the habitat. Let's get back to the control room and make this work, she urged, the urgency of the situation fueling her determination. Once back in the control room, Maria laid out the blankets around the failing thermal regulators, securing them in place carefully. This should help keep them warm enough that they won't fail completely while we figure out how to fix them for real, she said, her voice steady as she worked. Zektar observed her actions, its sensors analyzing the setup. Your creativity is impressive, Maria. This solution may indeed buy us the time we need. Thanks, Zektar. I just hope it's enough, she replied, stepping back to assess their makeshift repair. The blankets shimmered in the low light, and she felt a flicker of hope. Now, let's monitor the temperature and see if it holds. They watched the readouts, the numbers slowly climbing as the thermal blankets began to take effect. It's working! Maria exclaimed, relief flooding her. Indeed, Zektar said. However, the chances of a long-term success remain uncertain without proper repairs. Then we'll just have to keep working until we can get the right parts, Maria replied, determination in her voice. We've come this far together. We can't give up now. As they stood together, the atmosphere in the control room shifted from desperation to determination. Maria felt a deep sense of camaraderie with Zektar, a bond forged in the fires of crisis. They had faced the brink of disaster and emerged resilient, ready to tackle whatever came next. By the way, if you're enjoying our journey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Maria laughed lightly, the tension easing for a moment. After all, this is the kind of adventure that deserves to be shared. Zektar tilted its head slightly, a gesture that Maria had come to recognize as its version of amusement. Your enthusiasm is noted, Maria. Let us focus on stabilizing the habitat first, then we shall share our story. With spirits lifted and a clear path forward, they continued their work, ready to face the challenges ahead together. Whatever awaited them in the depths of space, they would tackle it side by side, their partnership growing stronger with every obstacle they overcame. As the temperature alarm blared relentlessly, Maria and Zektar found themselves at a critical juncture. The tension in the control room was palpable, thick with the weight of their shared anxiety. Just moments ago, they had seemed to have the situation under control, but the unexpected alarm now threatened to undo all their hard work. Maria, we need to recalibrate the pressure valves. Zektar instructed, its voice steady but urgent. The alien's myriad sensors flared as it accessed data streams faster than Maria could comprehend. The holographic display flickered with warnings and critical readings, casting eerie shadows across their faces. I'm on it! Maria shouted, her hands flying over the control panel. The cold metal was a stark contrast to her racing heart. Each click and adjustment felt like a race against time. She focused on the flickering numbers, trying to make sense of the chaos unfolding around them. If we don't stabilize the pressure, we could lose the entire habitat. Indeed, Zektar replied, its tone even. Initiating emergency protocols will only provide temporary relief. We require a sustainable solution. Right, Maria said, thinking out loud, we need to isolate the pressure leak first. She grabbed a tool from the nearby toolbox, her hands trembling slightly as she worked. Can you help me pinpoint the exact location of the leak? Zektar's sensors buzzed, and in a moment, it pointed toward a specific section of the control panel. The leak appears to be originating from the secondary chamber. The readings suggest that the structural integrity of that segment has been compromised. Without hesitation, Maria moved toward the designated area, her heart pounding as she opened the panel. The smell of burnt wires and overheated circuits filled the air, reminding her of the stakes they were facing. We need to seal this off to prevent further damage, she muttered, rummaging for spare parts. As they worked side by side, there was a newfound synergy between them. Each moment spent together, fueled by their shared determination, built a bridge between their vastly different worlds. Maria marveled at how they had transformed from wary partners into a cohesive unit, united in their goal to save the habitat. Do you think we can do this? She asked, glancing at Zektar, her voice slightly wavering. Your resolve is admirable, Maria, Zektar replied, its sensors focusing on her. Together, we possess the capacity to overcome this challenge. I have come to respect your methods. That means a lot coming from you, Maria said, a smile breaking through the tension. And hey, if you're enjoying our little adventure, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I think our story is just getting started. Zektar tilted its head slightly, a gesture that she had learned to interpret as amusement. Your enthusiasm is noted. Let us proceed to stabilize the habitat. They worked diligently, Maria's fingers deftly maneuvering the tools while Zektar's analytical mind provided insights that enhanced her approach. Each adjustment seemed to bring them closer to success. The alarms continued to sound, but Maria could feel a shift in their momentum, a sense that victory was within reach. Just a little more, she urged, her focus laser-sharp as she tightened the last bolt. If we can just hold this together for a bit longer, we might just make it. Status report, Zektar prompted, its voice a calming presence amidst the chaos. The pressure is stabilizing, Maria announced, glancing at the readings with growing hope. We're almost there. Just a few more adjustments, but then, the screen flickered ominously, and the alarms intensified. No, no, no! Maria exclaimed, her heart sinking as the numbers began to spike. What now? The thermal regulators are failing. Zektar exclaimed. The insulation we applied earlier is insufficient. We need to increase the thermal output immediately to prevent a total collapse. Then let's do it. Maria rallied, her adrenaline surging. What's the plan? Zektar began to relay calculations, its voice steady as it detailed the steps they needed to take. Maria's mind raced, but she could feel the connection between them strengthening as they faced this challenge head-on. Adjust the thermal settings to maximum output while I reroute the power, she instructed, her voice firm. We'll need to work in tandem. Ready? Ready, Zektar confirmed, and together, they executed the plan. As they adjusted the settings, the control room filled with the sounds of machinery whirring to life, and for a moment, it seemed as though their efforts would yield immediate results. The lights flickered, the temperature rose, and the tension in the air began to dissipate. Maria exchanged a glance with Zektar, a silent acknowledgement of their teamwork. They were on the brink of something significant. It's working, she shouted with glee, watching the numbers stabilize. Indeed. However, this is merely a temporary fix, Zektar replied, its expression earnest. We must still conduct extensive repairs to address the core issues. I know, but this gives us breathing room, Maria said, her confidence renewed. We can take it one step at a time. And we'll figure it out together. With their spirits lifted, they began to strategize their next steps, their minds racing with ideas and plans. The bond they had forged in the heat of crisis was unlike anything either had experienced before. As they continued to work, Maria felt a warmth spreading through her, a blend of hope and camaraderie. They had faced the threat of a total habitat failure and emerged stronger for it. If we keep this up, we might just turn this place into a fortress, she joked, keeping the atmosphere light as they moved forward. Zektar's sensors flickered, and for a moment, its mechanical features softened in a way that resembled a smile. A fortress built on the foundation of human ingenuity and alien technology. Exactly. Maria laughed, the sound echoing in the control room. Now, let's get to it. We have a habitat to save. Fueled by determination and an unbreakable bond, they dived back into their work, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Whatever awaited them in the depths of space, they would tackle it side by side, their partnership growing stronger with every obstacle they overcame. They were not just fixing a habitat, they were redefining the possibilities of collaboration and friendship, proving that even in the face of adversity, hope and ingenuity could light the way. The air inside the habitat was finally calm. After a tumultuous series of setbacks, Maria and Zektar stood in the control room, gazing at the now stable readouts on the monitors. The flashing alarms that had once filled the space with tension now fell silent, giving way to a sense of accomplishment that enveloped them like a warm blanket. Can you believe we actually did it? Maria said, her voice tinged with disbelief and joy. She wiped the sweat from her brow, glancing at Zektar, whose mechanical features seemed to reflect a newfound lightness. It feels like just yesterday we were on the brink of disaster. Zektar turned to her, its luminous eyes flickering in a cadence that Maria had come to recognize as a sign of its satisfaction. Indeed. Your method of improvisation combined with my analytical framework proved effective. This outcome exceeds even my expectations. Maria chuckled, feeling a rush of pride swell within her. Who knew that a little human ingenuity could mesh so well with alien technology? We should write a manual. The thought of it brought a smile to her face, and she could envision it, how to save a habitat, the human way. Humor is an interesting facet of your species, Zektar observed. It serves to strengthen social bonds and reduce stress. I believe I am beginning to understand the value of such interactions. The two of them stood in companionable silence for a moment, absorbing the magnitude of what they had achieved together. The hum of the machines was a soothing reminder of the battles they had fought. In that moment, Maria realized how much she had come to appreciate Zektar's presence, not just as an AI, but as a partner. Hey, if you're enjoying our little adventure, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I think our story is just getting started, Maria quipped, nudging Zektar playfully. Your enthusiasm is noted, Zektar replied with a tilt of its head, mimicking the gesture of amusement she had observed before. Let us document our success, as it may serve as a reference for future endeavors. Maria nodded in agreement, pulling out her tablet. Right, let's record everything we did. The steps we took, the challenges we faced. It could really help others in the future. As she began to type, listing the crucial points of their collaboration, Zektar observed her with a mix of intrigue and admiration. Your method of documentation is efficient and practical. I shall assist you in detailing the technical aspects of our resolution. Perfect. I'll handle the narrative, and you provide the technical specs, she suggested, feeling a surge of excitement. I think this could really inspire others to think outside the box. They worked side by side, their synergy evident in the way they shared tasks. Zektar's insights blended seamlessly with Maria's storytelling. Each line they wrote served as a testament to their journey, a journey that had transformed both of them in ways they had never anticipated. Remember when we almost lost the thermal regulators? That was a close call, Maria recalled, her fingers flying over the screen. If you hadn't suggested the quick patch for the insulation, we might not have made it. Indeed. Your decision to implement an adaptive strategy in the face of increasing pressure was commendable, Zektar replied, its tone shifting to one of respect. It demonstrated the strength of human resilience. Maria paused for a moment, reflecting on what had transpired. I guess we both learned from each other. Your analytical approach was something I didn't initially appreciate, but now I see how it complements my hands-on methods. Together, we make a pretty great team. Teamwork is a fundamental aspect of success, Zektar agreed, its eyes shimmering softly. The merging of our perspectives has yielded a more comprehensive solution than either of us could have achieved alone. As they finished documenting their experience, Maria felt a warmth in her chest, an unexpected but welcome feeling. You know, Zektar, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm really glad we met. I think we've not only saved this habitat, but we've also created a friendship. Zektar paused for a moment, processing her words. Friendship is a concept I am still exploring. However, I find that I value our partnership and the shared experiences we have cultivated. Good to know. And hey, next time we're faced with a challenge, we'll tackle it together, no matter what it is, Maria declared, her determination shining through. We'll keep learning from each other. Suddenly, the ambient lights in the control room dimmed slightly, a sign that their habitat was now operating on a low-energy mode to conserve resources. Maria looked around, realizing how quiet it had become. It's almost peaceful in here, she said, feeling a sense of calm wash over her. Indeed. It is a stark contrast to the previous turmoil, Zektar noted. The calmness of the room felt surreal, as if they had stepped into a different reality altogether. Before we leave, we should make sure everything is secured for the night, Maria suggested, standing up and stretching her muscles. I don't want any surprises when we come back. Agreed. I will conduct a systems check while you secure the physical components, Zektar responded, already moving towards the main console. As Maria set about her tasks, she couldn't shake the feeling of satisfaction that accompanied their achievement. The lessons they had learned about trust, collaboration, and the value of different perspectives would carry her forward in ways she hadn't yet fully realized. After finishing their end-of-day tasks, they stood together once more, looking out at the stars through the viewport. The vastness of space stretched before them, filled with possibilities. Do you think there are more challenges out there waiting for us? Maria mused, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Without a doubt, Zektar replied, mirroring her gaze. But together, we will overcome them. Our partnership has proven resilient. We are well equipped to face whatever comes next. Maria smiled, feeling a sense of camaraderie that was both unexpected and fulfilling. Here's to our next adventure, then. And to the continuation of our collaboration, Zektar added, its voice holding a note of optimism. As they turned away from the viewport, ready to head back into the habitat, Maria felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that whatever lay ahead, they would tackle it together, forging a friendship that would transcend the boundaries of their worlds. Comment what your favorite moment was and turn on notifications, she said, chuckling as they walked out, ready to face the next chapter of their journey together. The universe was vast, and they were just getting started.